Hi, everybody, and welcome to what may be the beginning of our opportunity to read through Esoteric Astrology together. It's a wonderful book written by the Tibetan master. It has almost 700 pages in it, and what I'd like to do in a fairly spontaneous way is to share my thoughts paragraph by paragraph, line by line, as we go. This webinar is sort of a private webinar. It's just between me and myself in a way, and I'll make it available to you on the Makara website and maybe on other websites. We will also have webinars where I will inform you in plenty of time and you can attend. You'll have the sign-up address, and you will be able to ask questions about what we discuss, and if you've studied what is on the previous webinars, you may have accumulated questions, so some of our webinars may simply be question and answers. But for the moment, I'm simply beginning this at a certain time here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'll show you the astrological chart of the beginning. I will try to keep these webinars in approximately hour-long segments and make them available to you quite soon, so you can begin to download them and study the material with me. The astrological chart is immediately before you. You should be able to see everything, and I will go over a few points. We are obviously in the sign Aries, the sign of new beginnings and of pioneering efforts. This has been something I've wanted to do for many years, a very careful examination of esoteric astrology. Of course, I realize that if I were to sit down with the book and write everything out, perhaps there would be greater accuracy and less spontaneity, and it would certainly take me 10 years, which is not possible because this information has to be spread widely among those who are thinking about the new astrology and the new psychology. So I've decided on the more spontaneous approach. That means perhaps that I hardly know what I'm going to say next, and I may make mistakes which later have to be corrected, but I will share with you the thoughts that come to my mind as we study the Tibetans' work together. Now, you may be interested in this astrological chart, which you should be able to see, because I'm showing you my screen, and if all works well, the screen will show. We are in Aries, and we are in the very first decanate of Aries, which spiritually is ruled by Jupiter. You might think it would be ruled by Mars, because when you do the normal decanate systems, for instance in Aries, it would be Aries sub Aries for the first 10 degrees, Aries sub Leo for the degrees 10 to 20, and then Aries sub Jupiter for 20 to 30. But the Tibetan tells us that Jupiter and also Venus are instrumental in this first decanate. We are, as well, interestingly, we are in the Taurus Dwadashamsha. A Dwad, D-W-A-D, is a measurement of 2.5 degrees, which comes from dividing the 12 signs of the zodiac into the 30 degrees of a sign. So 12 into 30 is 2.5 degrees. And the first Dwad is Aries, Aries. Well, we're not in that. We're in the Aries sub-Taurus Dwad. And so I hope that the light illumination of Taurus will illumine our way. We are involved here in an exercise in intuition. We will try to create together, because I'm thinking of you as I do this, a method of invoking intuitive light upon the group aura. And hopefully thoughts will descend into our minds and into our group mind, which will be unusually revelatory and will give us an idea of this new and wonderful astrology which the Tibetan has offered us, and of which he has given us perhaps simply the seed, but he said it would be enough for us to begin to develop the new astrology. So we're in the pioneering sign Aries, and you notice here that the planet Uranus is exactly conjunct within 2 degrees, very close. Uranus, of course, is the astrologer's planet. In a way, every planet is the astrologer's planet, but Uranus gives a special occult mind to be brought to the subject. And so we can see archetypes more clearly through the influence of the planet Uranus. We ought to be able to extend our minds into the abstract mind, into the spiritual triad, and perhaps bring down some of the higher patterns and perspectives which can only be seen in the higher part of a human being's nature. All of this, by the way, is taking place in the 9th house of higher mind, the upper part of the Antakarana, if you will, the upper part of the Rainbow Bridge, where we begin to touch those aspects of ourselves which are beyond the personal and are even, in a way, beyond the individual. Because indeed we do have parts of our nature which are planetary and even universal, and we're interested in touching those. So we may get flashes of illumination, let us hope, new ideas which we have not had before, all coming in through Aries, Uranus, and the Sun. And we notice here that Jupiter is also within range of the Sun, a wide conjunction, but we have here what is called translation of light, which means that if A is conjunct to B, is conjunct to C, is conjunct to D, then they're all, in a way, conjunct with each other, and they form one stellium of planets in Aries. And I've been waiting a long time to do this. I tried to figure out when in the world to begin talking to you about astrology and how to do it. And I had a notion to do it in Capricorn, and then a notion to do it in Aquarius, and I pretty much passed by the idea of doing it in Pisces. I didn't want to do that because that's more a sign of culmination than it is of inauguration. But then I knew, and I began to have the feeling that it would be done in Aries. So Jupiter in Aries offers an opportunity to expand on the new ideas. It's a position of great potential for new undertakings. It opens the door to things that have not been done before, and it gives great enthusiasm. And the belief in oneself, confidence. So we do need that, because this is a long study. I cannot pretend it's a short study. I've been studying it all my life, it seems like. Certainly, maybe since I was 23 years old, so at least 45 years I've been studying astrology, and more recently esoteric astrology. So Jupiter is dignified in the ninth house of higher mind, of worldview, of occult philosophy, in many ways the house of the ageless wisdom, which gives us a very broad and deep understanding of our relationship to the planetary process and to the solar systemic process and beyond. We go on and we see that Mercury is there as well, and Mercury, as some of you will know, is the esoteric ruler of Aries, and so it's placed in its own sign. And Mercury in Aries burns the jungles of illusion. The jungle of illusion dissolves in flames, and the path stands free. I have a song about that, actually, for Mercury, and maybe I'll find a way to share some of this music in these webinars, because they are written on astrological themes. So the possibility of absorbing the new ideas and of clarifying the many illusions of the lower mind and of bringing the seeds of archetypal ideas down into the personal consciousness, this is all here when Mercury is in Aries. Actually, I included as well one of the newly discovered planets or planetoids out there near Pluto, beyond Pluto. It's called Eris, and it's exactly in the same degree as Mercury. And Eris has a strong fifth ray component. It's very discriminative. In a way, it's sort of the goddess of warfare. It's a bit like the warrior goddess Xena. Some of you saw her in that television series. This gives us an enterprising mentality, highly discriminative. Hopefully we can be very, very clear about many matters which are, at first sight, not especially clear. Now, all of these are related to each other in a translation of light. Every time I press the screen, the picture will disappear, but it doesn't have to be up that often. We have here, for the degree of Uranus, a woman has risen out of the ocean, and a seal is embracing her, and I think trying to pull her back. So that's the very beginning of Aries, and one is emerging from the ocean of the unconscious and trying to make a new statement, a bold new archetypal statement. Uranus, as some of you will know, is the highest ruler of Aries. Now, most of us are familiar with ordinary astrological rulerships. A planet is a god, a planetary god, and it is related to a still greater god who is the lord of a constellation. Now, these planets have customary relationships with certain constellations or signs of the zodiac. A sign of the zodiac really is a concentration of energy around a planet, divided in 12 parts, each area allowing the energy of the constellation to reach the planet. It especially adapts the energy of the constellation to planetary affairs. So there is a difference between constellations and signs, and we will discuss that. It's in the page 600s, but I'm sure we'll mention it many times. So anyway, normally Uranus is not connected with Aries, but from a highly esoteric point of view, in fact, what's called the highest type of rulership, which is called hierarchical rulership, then Uranus is indeed the major ruler of Aries.